We're joined by our panel of former Trump White House insiders, Olivia Troy, Alyssa Farah Griffin, and Stephanie Grisham. Stephanie, let me start with you. The scene where Donald Trump was taping video messages to his supporters, and there were outtakes. I can't say that, or like, oh, I don't want to say that the election's over. That must have rung true for you, I'm guessing.
Yes, I saw that show many, many times. You know, tonight made me sad and it made me disgusted all over again, but actually nothing surprised me. Donald Trump, as all of us know here, he will not apologize and he will not admit defeat. And I think those outtakes really showed that, really showed what he was like. And I think if I could say anything, I cannot echo Liz Cheney's words enough as to say the American people were duped by him. I was duped by him. He doesn't care about this country. He cares about Donald Trump.
Yeah, it was interesting when she said that he weaponized the patriotism of his supporters. Alyssa, you know Sarah Matthews, the deputy White House press secretary who testified, and there was a very interesting moment when she was talking about having a conversation with then President Trump about calling off the mob and his bizarre concerns about whether doing that would make him seem weak, would be giving a victory to the media. Let's roll some of that.
I couldn't believe that we were arguing over this in the middle of the West Wing, talking about the politics of a tweet, being concerned with handing the media a win when we had just watched all of that violence unfold at the Capitol. And so I motioned up at the TV and I said, "Do you think it looks like we're effing winning? Because I don't think it does."
And just what a masterful line by Sarah. But it's actually even worse than how you described it. This was a conversation among aides in the press office. Kayleigh McEnany had already come back from the Oval Office trying to get Trump to say something. She came back and whispered he doesn't want to say stand down. And then the aides among themselves are arguing whether they should say something more forceful. And the sense of many of the other people in the room, including, I imagine, the former White House press secretary, was we'll look like we're winning and giving a win to the media if we come out and condemn this when everyone's telling us to. And I think what they did masterfully today was get into kind of the psychology of the Trump White House and the people around him, which was never admit defeat, never admit fault, and make sure you insulate this man who feels like a constant victim in every scenario. And I mean, that line will stand out to me of Eric Hirschman saying we were all drained at like 4:15 in the afternoon, calling it a day in the West Wing when on Capitol Hill there's still a riot and an insurrection taking place. Just a pathetic showing all around for those who didn't speak out.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. There was a quote from one of the policemen who on the Capitol that day who couldn't believe that Eric Hirschman was saying that they felt drained. He said something. Let me see if I can find it here. But he said something like, "Can you felt drained? Like, how do you think we felt?" I'm paraphrasing poorly. Also, Olivia, you were up there watching the testimony. I saw you sitting with the officers. Just a reminder, viewers, you were a national security advisor to Vice President Pence. What was it like for you to hear a White House official who works in the security field, who was given anonymity, talk about how, while the crowd was chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," they were coming for him. They were literally coming for Mike Pence. And Secret Service agents, people on the vice president's detail, were calling their family members because they thought they might not make it home.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to lie. I got very emotional in the hearing. I was fighting back tears, and it was because it was tears of sadness that this had happened in our country and that the vice president's life was put at risk. But it was anger as well. I was so angry at that moment because I was thinking to myself, this is all because of Donald Trump, directly implicated because of him. And to hear the Secret Service people, they were saying, I think they were referring to saying goodbye to their families. And also, I can't imagine knowing them, having traveled with them, and how much pride they had in that job, knowing that the vice president is the person that they're trying to protect in the moment. And they know that they're losing, right? They're losing holding the line, while people outside the Capitol and those officers are doing their best to fend off this mob. And then you've got the scenario where we saw firsthand how chilling that moment was. And I think that's incredibly important for Americans to have heard that from the Secret Service themselves, to talk about that, because I really think that that gets to the committee's work, the incredible importance of it, and why it's important to get these facts out there so that people realize, no, this is not a sham. This is a really dark day in history that really we just need to acknowledge, and accountability needs to happen.
Do you think, Stephanie, that this is going to change any Republican minds, whether members of Congress that have been going along with this, horrible charade for so long, or just Republican voters out there? Is it going to have an impact?
I have to believe it will. I think for sure it will have an impact on independents, and I think that's who we need to be talking to and reaching, because Donald Trump's base, we're not going to change their mind. But I do believe there are responsible Americans who may not want to say it out loud, but who will go into the voting booth knowing that their president sat and watched TV for 3 hours while people were fighting for their lives.
People, yeah, because of the mob that he sicked on them. We should know, we were talking earlier, that while the testimony was going on, some troll who works for the House Republican Conference, who works for Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, personally attacked Sarah Matthews while she was under oath, telling the truth, said something nasty about her. The tweet was eventually deleted. You called it out. Other people called it out on Twitter. The tweet ultimately was deleted. But this is a small taste of what happens when people come forward and criticize Donald Trump.
Yes, it was. I mean, it's indicative of, Cassidy Hutchinson has dealt with this. Sarah Matthews is going to. We all have. But I will say this. I have. But I'll say this. It was particularly shameful coming from Elise Stefanik's House GOP Twitter account. This is a woman who at one point I admired, that championed young women, tries to get more Republican women elected. And you have a Republican House staffer in Sarah Matthews who's under oath when so many men twice her age will not go and under oath and testify. And they were personally attacking her, calling her a pawn and I think a liar, and trying to undermine her. So I just thought it was shameful. They did the right thing in taking it down. But I was actually very heartened by how many people came to Sarah Matthews' defense. She had an impeccable reputation with the White House press corps and with the Capitol Hill press corps. So people just were coming out of the woodwork like, what are you doing? This is somebody who's above reproach and who's doing the right thing when others won't.
Well, I hope the deletion of that tweet is some sort of sign about the direction of the House Republican caucus, but I have to say I'm not holding my breath. Thank you so much to all of you.